What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron, and we are brought to you by the Off the Ball Network and our friends at Manscaped. Make sure to use promo code Off the Ball for all your products at Manscaped. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Go off the ball with Manscaped. On today's show, I still laugh every time I got to do those reads, man. It's just off the ball, man. It just made so much sense. You know, that was part of the pitch too, so it got to work. But on today's show, man, I got a special guest with me, someone who I've admired the work he's done. He's put out some really great work as far as the NFL draft, NBA stuff. I got a special guest, Jordan Foote, on the show today. Jordan, what's going on, brother?
Chris, what's up, dude? I like the ad read, man. I remember doing that. We had our podcast sponsored by Manscaped for a bit, and I like the ones that they send out, like the ones they kind of write up or whatever. But it's not as authentic, and they kind of give you freedom to come up with some funny stuff. So more power to you, man. I'm glad to be on. Thanks for having me, bro.
Yes. Glad to have you on the show. Finally, you've done some really cool stuff, like I mentioned. But just want to give you some of your titles because you got a lot, man. You're a busy man. You always got something going on. So you do you're an NFL draft analyst and you cover the Chiefs for Sports Illustrated, which is that's really awesome. You also do some stuff with the Utah Jazz over at 48 Minutes. And then our guy Yoda, you do stuff at Sports Talk 2319. You cover the NBA for him. So you got a lot of job titles, brother.
I try to keep like a hand in every jar that I can. But man, we've only got so many hands. But I think, man, that's why we're here, just trying to, grind it out. Everyone's in the same spot, just working towards that ultimate goal. Shout out to Rashad, man. That dude is just a fountain of basketball excellence. Dude is he's a gem for sure.
Yes, and I had the pleasure of having him on maybe I think around February, and I've always admired him and everything he's done, and finally getting to talk to him and having him on my show was like, wow, it was really cool. And just it's also cool to see all the stuff he's being able to do for others. It's not just about him; it's about helping others. And he's put guys like you, Max, so many other guys, Zach, with the draft stuff. He's been able to put a lot of guys on, so it's really dope. So how did that come about? How did you get to go work with Rashad?
Man, somebody asked me that, and I told the same story because it's really easy, but it's also a funny one. So back when he first had the website set up or whatever, even before, I DM'd him. I think it was summer of, man, it had to be 2019. I feel a little old now. It was a while ago. And I kept pestering him because I had seen his tweets. I was like, this dude knows his stuff. And he's going to be big time. So I DM'd him. I was like, man, if you're looking for a writer for your website, let me know. He was like, okay, I'm redesigning it, whatever. Then finally, 8 months later, I kept pestering him. He finally was like, okay, bro, here we go.
Yeah. You got to be persistent.
Bro, that dude was probably so tired of me by then. But finally he got that website set up. And I joined in. So then he's brought on some really, really talented people since. And, man, it's taken over. I mean, it's the best, I think, NBA draft stuff, NBA prospect stuff, just a bunch of really cool collective basketball minds over there.
Yeah, like I said, tremendous stuff he does over there, and like I said, to be able to put so many people on, like I said, you were persistent, you went with it, and like you said, you was probably like, oh my God, this guy Jordan, man, he just keeps going at me, but hey, you were persistent, and maybe he was like, you know what, hey, he keeps coming, let's give him a shot, and you guys you've done some pretty cool stuff with him, and I've seen him shout you out a few times. I was like, all right, I got to reach out to this Jordan dude, he Rashad is showing him his, giving him his flowers, so that's why. I said, man, I got to get Jordan on the show, and then just reading your work and seeing all the stuff you've done. You've done a lot of great stuff, bro. I really dig all the great content you've put out.
Yeah, likewise, bro. Off the ball, I saw. It's been several months since I saw Off the Ball kind of just break onto the scene on my timeline. Because man, Twitter is crazy. You meet a ton of people from there. It's great. So. I was like, man, Off the Ball, the whole network seems pretty cool. And then I saw you and Max interacting. I was like, I got to link up with Chris and do some stuff. And, man, you guys are blowing up. I mean, you have a really good collective Mo Murphy has been going live with
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, the mock drafts and all that. Just introducing Steven. Gillespie has been doing some really cool stuff. Just a whole collective of really cool people. So that's what it's all about, man.
That's what it's all about. For me, it just started off as a little podcast, talking to my computer, no equipment, no nothing, no vision, just talk out of my ass essentially. And then it's like you said, being able, using Twitter the way it should be used, right? Networking, talking to others, embracing others. And that's how I use Twitter. Obviously, there's people who use it the other way and try to get, being really
clout.
They do things for clout. They'll say silly things. You see it all the time, But for me, it was just building these relationships and being able to network and getting, just the amount of people I've got on my show. It's crazy. Like the fact that I'm even talking to you is still surreal to me that I didn't think this would be possible, 2 years ago when I started my show, and to be able to talk to you and so many others I've had on. It's really been great. But it's just hard work, and like you said, you put in so much work. So you also cover the Chiefs and the NFL draft, and you've been doing a lot of cool stuff with that. So let's talk about your Kansas City Chiefs and all. Obviously, Super Bowl didn't go the way you wanted to, right? But the last 3 years have been tremendous as a whole, right? Super Bowl, been to 2, an AFC championship, a couple plays away from getting to 3 of them in a row. So just talk to me about how it's been the last 3 years in Kansas City and having that man at quarterback, because he's special.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it was a little weird at first because, like, Alex Smith was a good quarterback and the Chiefs were good. Like, they were winning double-digit games. They were getting to the playoffs. Like, a lot of teams would kill for that type of yearly success. And then they go out in 2017 and trade up for a quarterback, and everyone's like, okay. Like, he must really –
How'd you feel about that?
Man, I'm going to be honest. I was pretty lazy, but at that time I was 18. So like I didn't really do any scouting stuff or like get into my groove in terms of like settling in with that media aspect. So
gotcha.
I hadn't watched a lot of Patrick Mahomes. I just knew he had a strong arm. I was like, all right, whatever. I wanted Deshaun Watson bad. I mean, he was clearly the most well-rounded prospect heading into that drafted quarterback. I don't want to get into any of the stuff going on right now with that. So back in 2017, I was like, man, I kind of wanted Deshaun, but whatever. And then like quickly, dude, the players were saying like Mahomes was different in practice, and it was hard for them to keep rolling with Smith after he was like struggling a little bit mid-season. I was like, okay, so they traded Smith, and Mahomes went out 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns in year one. Like it was just insane. So it was the perfect like marriage of GM, head coach, quarterback. Like it, Andy Reid deserves just as much credit, and Alex Smith too for kind of teaching him how to be a professional. So it's really been fun to cover it and to also be a fan back then, kind of the whole team.
And this is what I talked this about a lot with a lot of guys that, friends and guys at the network. Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit for essentially thinking outside the box and seeing Patrick Mahomes and being like, that's the guy I want to be the quarterback. Like, yes, we can probably win 10, 11 games every year with Alex, right? Alex can take you so far. But, we have to take that next step, right? You had that tough playoff loss with the Colts, right? You blew that massive lead, and that was probably like, we can only go so far with Alex. Like, we need that home run. We need someone that can help, take us to the next level. So for him to think outside and trade up big for a guy who, listen, he was getting picked apart like crazy. The same way we see some guys today, right?
Yeah.
Zach Wilson and all these guys get picked apart now. Mahomes, he's not a winner. His mechanics are all over the place, blah, blah, blah. And I remember for me, and I was doing some draft stuff at the time too. I remember just saying, I remember watching the game, this Texas Tech versus Oklahoma, and being like, that guy's it. I don't care that, that his mechanic, no, he's something special. It was him and Baker. They just went at it back and forth. And I was like, oh, he's different. He's different. And that was like, and for him to trade up and be like, that's going to be my guy. Like, he's going to sit. We got Alex. We can do it, but that's going to be the future. And sometimes thinking outside the box is, you have to, some teams are satisfied with just being, good, but not wanting to take that next level. And for him to see that guy is going to be our face and the guy is going to lead us to Super Bowl, that to me, that's it's still something that's why Andy Reid finally got his Super Bowl, because he thought outside the box. It's really remarkable the stuff he's been able to do since he's got to Kansas City.
Yeah, it was a huge. It was a calculated risk. Like, obviously there was a little bit of guesswork involved in. I don't know if he's gonna pick up the playbook or whatever, but like the story goes, I guess they brought him in for like a meeting or whatever, and it was him and Reed locked in a room for like hours on end, and like Reed and him were doing a full install of the playbook and stuff, and Mahomes was like retaining everything, and like I didn't know any of those stories. They came out later, so it made sense that they believed he could grasp, like, because Andy Reid's offense is hard to learn. Like, he's a smart dude. They have a billion different plays, so the mechanics were really, really, really bad, and I think that he did need that year to kind of sit and people say they wanted to see Mahomes rookie year. I was like, you probably didn't want to see. Like, it would have been a lot worse than people think. Like, it would have been fun, but it would have been like a Josh Allen type of chaos where like he's throwing interceptions and then he's fumbling the ball and running around. So really the stars just aligned perfectly for that whole thing to happen.
Yeah, they did it right. They gave him that last start of the regular season, let him get his feet, and then Andy was like, okay, I feel comfortable with him. We're good. All right, I see what I see. He's going to be the guy next year. And then, of course, he has an MVP year, 50-plus touchdowns. Like, he has a remarkable season. And then, I want to talk about the moment where he hurt his knee the year after. Because I'm sure you were like, uh-oh, that's it. Because I know a lot of people were like, oh, my God, this is it. He tore his ACL. It's over. And then, luckily, it wasn't. And then he was able to come back and then lead you to a remarkable Super Bowl run. I mean, it felt like you guys were down 45 every game. It was like, all right, let's pop them 45. And Pat's going to bring us back. And then, going into that playoffs and then going into that Texans game, and you're down, 28-0? What's going through your mind? Bad. I mean, I know the video of the guy Chuck. He left the game, and
that's my dude. Shout out Chuck.
He's real cool. I've gotten to talk to him a few times on like Clubhouse and all that, and interact him on Twitter. But it's like that, and then you guys come back. So just talk to me about that emotion, because I know that must have been a roller coaster ride, that game.
Yeah, like even now, like covering the team, like, because I talk to people about this all the time, like with the fan and not being a fan thing. Like, it is tough initially to take that fan hat off. Now it's really easy. Like I've kind of beat that out of myself to where obviously you want them to do well, but when they lose, you're not like upset about it or whatever. But back then I wasn't doing any of that stuff. So I was like full blown Chiefs fan, ready to go. And to go down 24-0 or 28 or whatever it was, I was like, so this is what it's going to be like now or whatever. And then all of a sudden, like, that switch just flipped. And after that game, everyone was like, the Chiefs, like, they can do whatever they want. Like, if they can do that, they can do anything. And it was crazy. It was defense. It was special teams. Like, that was a run of destiny. And even in the Super Bowl, like, they didn't play well for 3 quarters. And then all of a sudden just went off. So the fact that his first year, they were a coin flip away from the Super Bowl. The second year, they won it. And the third year, I mean, an offensive line probably away from being competitive with Tampa Bay. I mean, that Mahomes played as well as he could have, I think, like considering he was injured and running around the whole game. So they're going to be in that combo for the next 15 years. Like, obviously you can't make it there every year, but it's a good spot to have a good shot every season.
I mean, that's what you want, right? You want to be able to be contention every. And yes, you guys have holes, offensive line. I'm sure you guys have a bunch of holes, but when you got that guy behind center,
it's a good start.
He can cover up a lot of those holes, right?
Yeah.
And it's just his rise has just been so much fun. I know for you, especially covering the team and being a fan, I'm sure it's been a joy. But just watching him play and knowing that. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can you're down 24, 25, 30, 40 that like, all right, we still have a chance. There's not a lot of guys like that. And he what he's able to do on the field. I mean, it's just remarkable. It's just remarkable what he does. Just talk to me about Patrick and just what he means to that team, the city, and everything he's brought to Kansas City.
Yeah, man, I think like as good as he is on the field, he might be even a little bit better off the field. Like, no human being is perfect, but that dude's pretty close. Like, he's this insane athlete who can do whatever he wants on the football field. And then off the field, he says all the right things. He does all the right things. He gives back to the community. Like, clearly within his first couple seasons, when we saw like local advertisements and him opening a foundation and all that stuff, like, everyone could kind of tell he plans on being in Kansas City long term. And that's still the case. I mean, he's under contract for 10 years or whatever. They're going to revisit that. He'll be a Chief for life, barring anything crazy. So just a great guy, a great football player. And it's truly a once in a generation type thing. Like, those types of guys don't grow on trees for sure.
No, and like we talked about before, here's a guy who's coming from Texas Tech, right? We always hear about the Texas Tech quarterbacks, right? They're just gunslingers. They're going to throw for a billion yards, billion touchdowns, but they're never going to be pros, right? Or maybe they'll be a 6th, 7th round back, a Graham Harrell or Kingsbury, right? Kingsbury's a product of there, right? And they'll never. But he was different, and it was always crazy how people just picked him apart. And I like I said, I told you that game, Oklahoma versus Texas Tech, it was a shootout, and you just saw him like he's got it, and still don't get why the Bears did what they did. It will never make sense. And I know it's not just because how it's panned out at the time. I still just don't get it. But I mean that we could talk about that for hours. What the Bear? I mean, but it's a very Bears-like move, so it doesn't shock me that they did that. But let's talk about the draft and the Chiefs' needs. So you've done a lot of stuff, with the draft and all that. So obviously, losing Eric Fisher was massive, massive. Right, once he was hurt, he tore his Achilles. It was, and then you on top of Mahomes being banged up, you knew that it could. It was going to be tough. And then obviously I think you guys he's released now, Eric Fisher. Yeah. So what are the needs? Is it that easy, obvious that it's protect Patrick Mahomes? Because to me, that's a $500 million investment that you have to make sure is up every game. So is it offensive line for this draft for Kansas City?
Yeah, man. So because they cut Mitchell Schwartz too, who's their all-pro right tackle because he had the back problem. They cut both of them on the same day. So they had 2 guys opting out that are coming back on the right side, and then they got Joe Thuney for $90 million. I mean, they're investing heavily. So they signed a center, Austin Blythe, who I think will be the starter this season. But man, really, I think like the top 3 needs. Left tackle is obviously the big one. Like, you got to protect his blind side. Exactly. There's still like Russell Okung and Alejandro Villanueva. They're still on the market, so they could do some stuff there, and then maybe draft a left tackle of the future, and then wide receiver. I think you got to replace Sammy Watkins. Like he wasn't always there, but when he was there, they were like almost unstoppable on offense. So if they can get someone, man, this is a good year to need a wide receiver. Like there's a ton of like, there's deep threats, there's route runners, there's
every type of receiver you want is in this draft.
Yeah, the little slot speed gadget guys, like the running backs who want to play wide receiver. I mean, it is insane. So those 2, and then on defense, man, like, they could use a cornerback. Like, every team could use a cornerback. And then they really need an edge opposite Frank Clark, but they've needed that for a while. So, man, like you said, like, they have a good core to start with. Like, having Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, Matthew, like, that's a pretty good start. And then you kind of just fill in everywhere else. But, man, that blind side's definitely the most important piece right now.
Yeah. So who are some of your, favorite tackles in this class? Obviously, there's Sewell and there's Slater and all that. So who are guys you think that could be there where the Chiefs are selecting?
Yeah, man, at 31, it's tough because some guys started off where they looked like they were going to go higher. Now they're going to be second rounders, and some guys who were second rounders are going to go higher, like Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah.
I gave him a second round grade at first. I was like, this guy won't go. Like, he'll be there. And now Jenkins could go top 20. Like, he tested well. He has the size. Like, man, people keep bringing up, and it's true. It's the year of the T-Rex. Like, because arm length is really important to NFL teams, and we thought, this is one of the best tackle classes we've had recently. Almost all of them have short arms. So it's the year of the really, really, really good superstar guard, but the Chiefs are pretty much set at guard this season. So Guys like Spencer Brown from Northern Iowa, like a 3rd round-ish pick, maybe 2nd round pick. Like I think even Stone Forsyth, like guys who are just coming up out of nowhere who have just long arms and are athletic, they're going to be options for the Chiefs. Like ideally, I think Eichenberg from Notre Dame, he's one of the few that like you can draft and have him step in day one at left tackle. Like no matter who they take, I think they need to sit a little bit. Like even the Texas kid Cosme, he has the arm length, he has the athleticism. That's not everything though. Like you have to be able to actually do the thing in the NFL. So the Chiefs kind of have their work cut out for him there. I'm surprised they haven't brought in a tackle yet because it seems like that's a major obvious need, but I don't think they're going to sit there with what they have and say, oh, we're going to go into week 1 with that offensive line. Like they're smarter than that. So they got some options for sure.
Yeah. So let's get into this draft as a whole. And we're a few weeks away from the draft, and obviously it's quarterback. We're always going to hear about the quarterbacks and all that. So let's talk a little bit about them. Obviously the 49ers traded up. All right. So we kind of feel like it's going to be Lawrence 1, right? That's locked in. That's in paper. You can pretty much guarantee that. And Zach Wilson is pretty much locked in at 2.
Yeah.
So the draft starts at 3. And obviously we've heard a lot of stuff, 49ers trade up, and you hear the Mac Jones rumor because, Phil Sims, what's his name? Phil Sims. Chris Sims had mentioned that, he's really cool with, the coach with and Shanahan, and he feels like it's going to be Mac Jones. Do you believe that it's going to be Mac Jones? I just can't. This is my opinion. I just don't see why they would trade up to get Mac Jones. I just don't see, the ups. Like, listen, I know upside is can get you in trouble, but you are drafting for upside at 3. You want to draft a superstar. You don't want to draft a guy who could be middle of the pack. So I just don't believe that they're going to draft Mac Jones. I just don't think. What do you think, Jordan? What do you think is going to happen at 3?
Well, like, do you trade up like that to draft a guy who his ceiling is maybe just a little bit higher than the guy you have right now? Like, I don't think so. I think that, like you said, I like Mac Jones, and I think he's a good mid to late first round pick, but you don't trade up to draft a guy like that. Like, especially with a Justin Fields who would still be there. Like, Fields is that dude. Like, I'm a Zach Wilson guy personally, but literally by a hair. Like, I think his ceiling's just a tad bit higher, but Fields is tough. Fields can make every throw. Fields is athletic. Fields is smart. Like, the stuff about his work ethic is baloney. Like, I don't buy into that at all. Nope. The dude clearly wants to play football.
Smoke screen season. Everyone's going to pull out stuff. It's the same stuff we heard about LaMelo Ball and he doesn't do this. And then guess what? He still went 3.
He didn't.
And we've seen him on the court. Yeah, he works. Yep. He definitely works. So it's all crap.
Yeah, I think, man, I guess it could be Mac Jones, but I saw something today like Fields is going to be doing like Kyle Shanahan type stuff at his pro day, the second one, which like I hope it's Fields. Like if it's Mac Jones, I'm going to be a little upset because why would you do that? And Fields is going to be there because it's obviously going to be Lawrence and Wilson. Like the draft does start at 3, like you said. So I'm not putting it against them to take Mac Jones, but I really hope they don't. Like for the sake of them, with a team that still has Super Bowl aspirations at full strength, like don't do that. Take the dynamic guy who has the superstar ceiling. Don't take the safe pick.
No, it's just I don't get it. I don't know why you and listen. And everyone talks about his type of quarterback is Kirk Cousins, Matt Schaub, Garoppolo, all this type, and it's like. He hasn't won with those, like he hasn't won a Super. It's not like he's won Super Bowls. If he's won Super Bowls, then I can be like, okay, then all right, that makes sense. He can make him, take him to another level. He hasn't exactly won. He hasn't won a Super Bowl. Yes, he's gotten to some Super Bowls, but we've seen how he's done in it managing. He hasn't. He's kind of faltered, and especially with the Falcons. Blowing that big lead. And even with against your Chiefs, 10-point lead. So it's like. I just don't get why you would take Mac at 3. It's not degrading his talent because he's definitely shown things this year that makes him worthy of being a top 20, a first round pick for sure. Yes. But when you have Justin Fields there, who's it feels like people are like saying, like, it feels like with everything going on, it's like Justin Fields has no upside. It's like his upside is, he might have the most up other than Trey Lance, but Trey Lance upside is strictly because we haven't seen him play, but Justin Fields could be, Cam Newton or something like that. Like, and he can do everything you want. And the whole progression thing, he can't get past his first read. Well, then you go to Pro Football Focus and they're like, well, after his first read, he's number one in the country.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are we making? And this is it's draft season. Everyone's getting. So I'm like, this is drafts. They do this in every draft. They're gonna bring up stuff to try to get the stock down because the teams are gonna want them. They want Justin Fields, but they want to get him lower at 4 or 5. So it's all smoke. I don't think it's going to be Mac Jones. My gut just says it's going to be Fields or it's going to be Lance. I think it's going to be Fields. I just can't see it be Mac Jones. It could be, and we could be wrong, and Mac Jones could be, a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But if it's just telling me right now, I can't see it being Mac Jones. I just don't get it at all. And I just think Chris Sims is just throwing stuff to create, just to create talk and all chatter and all that. But I can't see San Francisco doing it. It just doesn't make sense,
Yeah, and a lot of those, like, and I like Chris Sims a lot. Like, I think he does great work, but a lot of the national media, I call it playing the game because, like, ultimately it's entertainment, but it's also business. And, like, that got clicks, that got retweets, that got views, that got reads, that got
trending,
listens, watches, trending. Like,
he's smart.
It was a good business move. He's a smart dude. He was playing the game. I think if, like, we went out to dinner with Chris Sims, he'd be like, no, there's no way they're going to take him. But you got to do what you got to do, I guess, when you're making the big bucks like that. But, man, like I said and like you said, I'd be a little bit surprised if it was Mac Jones, but I guess it's on the table, even though I'd really hope that that they don't do that.
Yeah, it could. Listen, it could happen. I don't see it happening because, like I said, I don't. To me, Justin Fields, the upside, everything you want in a quarterback, he has been. But we've seen stranger things, right? We've definitely seen stranger things in the draft, so nothing would shock me. But doing all the draft stuff you do, give me the strongest position in this draft, and then give me the weakest position in this draft.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'm going to go wide receiver for the strongest. I would go quarterback just because of all the star talent, but I think wide receiver has more depth. Like, there's rounds 1 through 6 or even 1 through 7, depending on how stuff falls. There's guys that have potential to be really good players. So wide out would be the strongest. And then weakest, man,
DT?
I don't want to say – yeah, I was going to say like interior lineman, whether it's defensive tackle or nose tackle, both. Like, and that goes back to nose tackles in general. Like, nose tackles come off the field on third down for guys that can rush the passer. So there's only so much value there. And on Muzurike from Washington's number 1, arguably on that the defensive tackle board this year just isn't there. And luckily for the Chiefs project I'm doing, I haven't spent much time on that position because they have Chris Jones there, so there's not a big need. But
they're set there.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's probably the weakest spot for sure.
Yeah. Like, I've dabbled into the defense tackle, and everyone says it's just not a very strong class this year. So, but I want to talk to you about one player, and he's my favorite player. He might be my favorite player ever to come out. He's special. And I think you know where I'm gonna is he a wide receiver or is he a tight end? That's a lot of people are gonna talk about is Kyle Pitts, right? I don't think he's a tight end. I just think he's a damn weapon. You can move him, you could put him in the slot, you could put him outside, you could put him wherever. He is a weapon. Talk to me about Kyle Pitts, because to me he's special. I just watching him at Florida. I mean, the dude didn't drop a pass. He's just a freak athlete. He's special. Talk to me about Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I think I saw his name like 1 or 2 times on Twitter like last week. I'll have to watch. No, I'm just kidding. That dude.
That dude. Other than me bringing it up, we haven't heard about him. He might sneak in the first round. Maybe.
Yeah, he's a sleeper pick. No, dude he's insane. Like, he is. Man, I wish I could give credit to who came up with this comp. I'm trying to think. I can't think of who it was, but they said Vernon Davis with like speed.
Yeah.
And Vernon Davis was a damn good receiver. And like Pitts, their measurables are similar. Pitts, like that wingspan is ridiculous, dude. Like his catch radius is insane. He's fast enough to play on the outside. Like the Chiefs use Kelsey in that role sometimes. And Pitts kind of reminds me of that, a little similar to it in the blocking, like whatever. He's not a great blocker. He's not a horrible one.
This isn't the 90s, where
Yes.
I need an inline blocker. Like, no.
Yes.
His job is to catch passes. I don't care. Like, and you read everything. It's like, well, he's not a good blocker. I was like, well, that should even be in your report. You're not using him to block, on first and second down, right? You're using him to be your receiver. Like a Darren Waller type. Like, that's what you're using him. You're not using him to block.
And even if you are, like, the trade-off is worth it. Like, the dude is going to be arguably the best at his position within 5 years. Like, it is insane. Tight ends are evolving, man. Like, Kittle, Kelsey, Pitts, Waller. There are some athletic players at that position, and they're obviously too big to be wide receivers, but they're being used almost as wide receivers in that you can't cover man-to-man with a linebacker because they're too fast. You can't put a safety or corner on them because they're too strong. You can't the smart ones will find holes in zones. Like it's insane. And a lot of those guys have basketball backgrounds. They're shifty. Kelsey's even said like he has the juke move and the spin move because he used to play basketball. Like it does play a role in it. So Pitts is insane. And I think Atlanta is the spot. I really do. And they've communicated back and forth. It would give Matt Ryan a target now. It would give their future quarterback a target later. Like people brought up before the Darnold trade with the Panthers that Carolina would move up to 4 and get a quarterback. And I was like, well, why would the Falcons give an interdivision opponent their franchise quarterback? Like that just didn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think Atlanta either trades back, but like, why would you trade back when you have a guy like Pitts on the board and you could upgrade your tight end position and have it set for years to come? So I think Pitts is going to be that dude and they're at 4, right? Atlanta?
Yeah, Atlanta's at 4.
Okay, yeah. I think he's going there.
is banged up every year, and he might not be there for in a couple of years. He might be gone. So they might have to just don't worry about we're already set. We already have a couple first round. No, take him.
And Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts is a good core to build around for your next quarterback too.
Exactly. So to me, I think if I'm Atlanta, that's a no-brainer. Yeah. That's an absolute. I know you probably need needs in the defensive end, pass rushing and all that, but Pitts at 4 is definitely hard to pass. So we'll see. The draft's coming up soon, so excited about that. But I wanted to transition to some basketball, and you cover the Utah Jazz, and man, the Utah Jazz have just been absolute. And I bring this all the time, and not to bring up the Knicks, but when they played the Knicks in the Garden earlier in this year, Donovan was struggling. He wasn't his same, averaging around like 19 a game, shooting like high 30s. He just wasn't bubble Mitchell, right? He didn't look the same. And then they lose that game, and it just seemed like they just took off. Donovan was back to being Donovan Mitchell. And they have just played absolutely great. They're the number 1 seed right now. They're playing great on both sides of the ball. They got, I think, 6 guys averaging 11-plus points a game. I mean, they are a team. And people bring up the Atlanta Hawks. Oh, they're going to be the Atlanta Hawks. I was like, no, this is different. They didn't have a Donovan Mitchell those Atlanta Hawks teams.
Exactly.
They didn't have the Donovan Mitchell like that. So for you, just talk to me about Utah and just the amazing season they've had. Snyder. They just had everyone's just clicking. They got a Clarkson 6-man a year. Gobert might win. Another defensive player there. I mean, he's definitely the best. Rim protector in the league. So just talk to me about Utah and the season they have having so far.
Yeah, man, they're peaking. And hopefully they peak all season. But everyone's peaking for the most part. Gobert has played some really good games this year and been involved on offense. Conley is healthy and playing well.
All-star finally. Yes. Thank you. I know it was a reserve role, but that man deserved to be an all-star a long time ago. And he finally, after a rough season last year, right? It was a rough year for him. Bounce back, playing really good basketball this year.
Yeah. And getting Bogdanovich back because they didn't have him in the bubble. Like they had Conley finally playing better. Bogdanovich was hurt, so they're getting him back, and he's finally playing better. He started off so poorly. Like that whole team really did. Mitchell was struggling. Bogdanovich was. Conley was pretty much the only one. So
Yeah.
they're shooting well. Mitchell has taken his game to new heights. I mean, he's going to that like high level star type player, like not quite a superstar yet because he hasn't had the playoff success deep into the playoffs, but he's a star for sure. Like he is playing really well. He's passing the ball better this year. His
playmaking. He's his career high in assists, this year.
Yeah.
I think he's averaging 5.5 a game. Like his
Yeah.
playmaking has been great this year.
And people talk about like it's really cliche, but the game's slowing down. And I think that like it's finally happening for him. And this is year 4. So I mean that usually happens for guys like that. There's a slump in there or whatever. So he's playing better. He's scoring the ball. He's being aggressive, picking his spots. He's been really clutch this season. Snyder's rotations are on point. Like he's probably the most underrated coach in the NBA. Snyder's insane, getting a lot out of those guys, and really even role players like Royce O'Neal, great defender. The only thing like Clarkson obviously has been fantastic. I'm worried in the playoffs that they don't have the dynamic defensive stopper to slow down a Murray or a Curry or a Dame but like who does though? Like a lot of those teams, you're not going to stop those guys, but you can do your best to stop the rest of that team. And
just contain them. You just got to contain them.
You kind of let them get theirs, contain them as much as you can, and then score a bunch on offense. Like Utah, I get the Hawks comparison. Like they're going to win a bunch of regular season games. No one knows how they'll do.
And I think that's what people compare. Like they think, all right, they could be the number 1 seed, but they're not going to be a championship. Like the way they play late, I think it's different, especially with the West being. It's kind of wide open, when you got the Lakers are really banged up, and we don't know how they'll look in the playoffs. The Suns, this is the first time they've done it, so we got to see how they look in the playoffs, So the West is kind of the Clippers, we saw what they did last year. We got to see in the playoffs. So the West it's deep, but it's wide open. It really is wide open.
Yeah, even a team like Dallas, like last year, they took the Clippers to the limit, and like if Porzingis stays healthy, they're still. They're missing another piece, like until they're ready, but they could be a tough out. So the West, hell, even Portland, like if they play good basketball for 7 games, they could beat some teams. So the West is fun. And look, no one's expecting, or they shouldn't expect Utah to make a finals run. Like I think their ceiling is maybe Western Conference Finals, take like the Lakers to 5 or 6 games, whatever. But that. For a team like that, a small market team that doesn't get premier free agents and still has the young core,
LeBron disrespected them all-star show.
Man, that'd be a good season. So they're balling. Their 3-point shooting is what's insane, dude. One of the best teams ever at 3-point shooting. And like you look at Houston that year that they missed like 23s in a row or whatever it was.
3s in a row.
Yeah, like I just can't see the Jazz doing that. Like their whole team shoots threes well. It's not like a few guys that do it. Mitchell takes his game to another level in the playoffs. I think we got a taste of that last year when he dropped 50 plus twice in that series. So it's going to be fun for sure, man.
Yeah, it's just I know, listen, it's Utah, and people are always going to disrespect, right? Like I just mentioned LeBron, as like nobody ever picked Utah in 2K or whatever he was talking about, NBA Jam, whatever that is. But you got to take them serious. Like I know beginning of the season, people are like, nah, but
whatever.
No. It's like, no, it's not whatever, no. And even I, for a little bit, was like,
for
okay, I gotta see a little more, but Donovan is continuing to play at a high level, and a lot of people capped his ceiling, like, oh well, I think he is as good as he is. It's like, no, there's another level to that. Like, he showed this year that he could be, and it's just so much fun watching this team, and they can really make some noise this year, and they can do some stuff. I don't think it's the Atlanta Hawks or the Raptors, they'll win the number 1 seed, and then LeBron's going to take them out. I think this is different. Like I said, the West is more open than people think. The Lakers are really banged up, and even at full strength, the Lakers, they're not the same team like they were last year. They don't have the size, and all that. So Utah can do it. Like I said, the 3-point shooting, along with the rebounding and all that, and the defense. This could be it.
It's tough.
The team is special.
Yeah, for sure, man. The West is fun. Like I'm excited for the playoffs in the West, dude. It's going to be so fun. Like I obviously want LeBron and AD to be back healthy, and I want the Lakers to be at full strength because it's just good for basketball when they're healthy. But man, it's the Clippers had some bad collapses last postseason. Like every team, you can poke a hole in their resume, I think, or their profile for the playoffs, and I think that's the fun part. Like there's no clear cut, even in the East, man, with Brooklyn, and I think Philly would be probably my number 2. Like I wouldn't bet all of my chips on the Nets. Like I'd bet quite a few of them on the Nets, but I'm not 100%. Like last year, I thought Lakers are going to sleepwalk into the finals. Like that's just how it is with the bubble and all that stuff. But this year, I'm just excited to let it play out. I think pretty much anything could happen.
I think the best part about this NBA season in particular, the fact that we have basketball is a blur. That's great that we even have basketball. This time last year, there was nothing. But the parity, there's so much parity in the league. Like, I don't know who's going to win the championship. How many years have we watched basketball and we're like, well, it's going to be the Warriors and the Cavaliers, or it's going to be the Lakers or whoever, right? We knew who was going to the finals. This year, it's like, well, the Nets have all the pieces to get to the finals, but would you be surprised if Philly bounces them out or Milwaukee bounces them out? You know, that wouldn't shock me. And then, like you said, we talked about the West. You know, anyone can get slipped up. You know, even Phoenix could get bounced in the first round against Dallas. You know, right now it would be Dallas. Would you be shocked if Dallas at healthy, right? Because they're getting healthy right now too, right? Porzingis has been relatively, and he's been great of late. You know, sad me to say that. I'm a Knicks fan, so we traded him, and I'm still a little sour about that. But he's been great of late. And would you be surprised if Dallas wins that? You know, you wouldn't. You know, and in Portland versus the Clippers, you wouldn't be like. There's just so much parity, and that's what's so much. This has been one of the most fun seasons watching because there is no guarantee. Like the Nets might be, but they're banged every game. They're missing guys. You know, Durant's missed a bunch of games. 25 games. Calf, and then obviously the Achilles. Kyrie, he's Kyrie. He's gonna take some time off. And all that. And Harden's missed some time with I think the hamstring. So, and Blake, injury, there's an older team and stuff. So, and Milwaukee, the storylines, this is so many. Well, can Milwaukee get over that hump? Giannis, two-time MVP, but he got bounced in round 2 last year and lost in 5. Can he overcome the Sixers? Can Doc Rivers take this team and not blow another 3-1 lead? The storyline. Hey, my Knicks are in the playoff hunt, Jordan. They're in the playoff hunt.
Randall's been going off.
Randall's RJ Barrett has played out of his mind the last 20 games. He's averaging like 21. Efficient too. That's the one thing. He's been efficient. It's just there's just so many great storylines in the NBA this year, and that's what's been so much fun for me to watch. But what's been your favorite storyline so far this season?
Man, the Knicks have been one of them for sure. Like, because I love Emmanuel Quickly. I think Randall. I've always been a Julius Randle fan, and people were like, "Oh, he's empty stats. He doesn't play defense. Whatever." He can switch on defense. He can shoot the 3 now. He's a good pick and roll player on both ends. He can handle the ball or roll to the rim. Losing Robinson hurts them, I think. But Quickly, people bring up he's inefficient. He's a rookie. I mean, that's just his shot selection is naturally going to be inefficient right now. I think they need to put the ball in his hands more, which is tough when you have Elfrid Payton, who needs the ball in his hands in order to do anything.
Don't say his name so loud. If the Knicks fans are watching, they might scream at you.
So he who must not be named.
EP.
Yes, EP needs the ball in order to be effective.
Twitter is not a big fan of Elfrid Payton right now.
And then Derrick Rose, obviously. I think Rose is the key to like teaching Quickly some stuff, like as to how to create. Because Quickly, he's only 6'3", but his wingspan's like 6'9", right? Yeah. So he has the length to get that floater off for his whole career if he wants to. His 3-point shot is nice. So the Knicks are one of them. Man, thinking more. I think Philly. I've been a huge Embiid fan, and I was in the camp of break up Joel and Ben Simmons because I think they missed their shot when they had Butler and Tobias and the whole team together. JJ Redick was there.
They lost. It ended by a miraculous shot by Kawhi. Yes. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. So then I was like, man, every year they've gotten further away, I thought, from that. But this year, Embiid's been an MVP. Like if he hadn't gotten hurt, I think he'd be probably the MVP, at least in my book. But
he
you could say
was
the same
a front
about
runner
LeBron.
for me.
Yeah.
He was a front runner for me.
And then the Nuggets, I think, because Jokic, like, if they can finish as a high seed, I think Jokic gets the MVP. Like, considering Giannis, they're going to have voter fatigue. LeBron and Embiid are hurt. Dame hasn't had quite the success. Steph hasn't had enough success to do it. Mitchell, like, I love that Donovan Mitchell's getting conversation, but his numbers aren't anything crazy. They're good, but they're not crazy. And there's still some people out there who think Gobert's the better player on the team, so that plays into it. Like, he's just a top 10 candidate.
They'll cancel each other out, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. And then Mitchell and Booker, or not Mitchell and Booker, Paul and Booker would be the same way. Like, Chris Paul gets some MVP love. That's not going to happen. So Denver, them playing well. And then, man, my last one, I think Atlanta. Like, because they've been banged up all season. There was worries about them not having any defense. Then the Rondo for Lou Will trade, that's going to be interesting. But Trey's had some rough stretches. He's had some rough games this season. He's also, like with Zach LaVine the other night, he went toe to toe with him. Like, that dude is putting on
44 points, I think.
Yeah. And LaVine was the star of the show, which is insane. Like, Trey was absolutely bonkers. So I think the Hawks
and
are going to be
won, and Trey won.
Yeah,
exactly.
So,
LaVine because he had 50.
Yes,
lost, you know.
Yes, and he had 39 of them in the first half. Like, that's just how Twitter goes with checking the box score, and then at the end of the game, everyone says, "Oh my gosh, LaVine had 50," but then they don't remember that in the second half he had 11 and the team collapsed. Like that just comes with the territory.
Trae Young's one of the most disrespected players, and I'm doing a piece. I'm doing my own 25 under 25, and he's probably the one I had the most link because it just feels like he gets so disrespected. I don't know why. He's in his third year in this league, and he's averaging 25 a game in his career, and he had 29. It was average of 29. Like I know his defense isn't perfect, guys. I know a lot of guys' defense isn't perfect. Luka's defense isn't perfect, and it's just he gets so. Twitter just I don't know. They just don't like Trae Young at all.
Well, and the thing for me is, like, statistically, can you say he's the worst defender in the league? I guess, like, if you really want to do that, but if you surround him with defenders and build a team the right way around him, you can win a championship.
Which they were trying to do, right? They got this done, but he was out for the whole year, so it didn't work out because he hurt. And Hunter was out for a portion of time, and Cam's been kind of up and down. So they that's what they were trying to do, and with Rondo too. But they missed a lot of time. Chris Dunn missed practically the whole damn year.
Yeah, so he's an undersized dude, and there are small guards that you can win championships with. And I don't think it's even really an effort thing with Trae on defense. I think that's just who he is. And like, he's so good offensively that you can live with that. Exactly. And like, even people bring up Zion, and I think Zion has a lot of room to grow on defense. Like, I think I wouldn't even really call him a neutral defender at this point. Like, I think he's maybe even a little bit below average, but he's so good on offense, dude. Like, the past 2 months, and like, I didn't think he could ever put it together in general like this, where he's passing and running the offense. Like, I thought he was going to be I didn't think Point Zion would ever happen. I thought he would be a bully ball guy his whole career without passing. The dude is taken off, and like, that's without the reliable 3-point shot. That's without tightening up his handle. That's without playing better on-ball defense and paying more attention there. So he has so much more room to grow. Like, that dude could be the best player in the NBA one day.
Jordan, that's scary that you just mentioned all those things. He can get better defensively, on the ball, off the ball, rebounding, all these things, scoring, getting a little jump shot. He's still averaging 20.
He's really good. Yeah.
He's still a really good player. He's going to be an all-NBA player. And there's still room. And that's another thing is, like, we don't let these guys grow. There's some people that like, like RJ Barrett, for instance, right? Yeah. People like, well, I saw someone tweet, and everyone started bringing the tweet back because it was from last year. Like, I think and I'm going to paraphrase here. He was like, I see bust, and I know that he's going to be a bust. It's like, how do you depict that from just a few games from a 19-year-old kid?
Lonzo Ball too.
Lonzo, people, he's garbage. All this. Lonzo will never learn how to shoot. He's learning how to shoot, and he's pretty damn good at it, right now. So we forget, like, when I'm doing my top 25, I'm like, wow, This guy's Booker, 6 years in, he's 24.
Yeah.
These guys are coming in at 18, 19 years. They're coming in younger and younger. Like, they can get Julius Randle, all right? Bring another guy, Nick, up. He's 26 right now. He got better.
Yeah.
At every level, defensively, better. Ball handling, better. Shot creation, better. You can still get better. And we just don't – we think, oh, no, 2 years, he's garbage. I think there's a lot of toxic thing, especially in social media. There's a basketball world where there's guys like me and you and a lot of guys we've interacted with that know what they're talking about and understand, okay, all right, yeah, we could criticize Zion for he needs to work on that, but we know, oh man, he's special. But then there's just a world where like, oh, he's garbage. He's not good. He can never be good. It's like, no, he can be. Like, he's 20.
Yeah. Well, and it's two things off of that. Like, it's first of all, like Lonzo used to be the litmus test for how I would like if I was having a basketball conversation with somebody and like I was like, I don't think they really watch the games or pay attention. I'd be like, how do you feel about Lonzo Ball? And like their opinion on him would tell me all I needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were like, Lonzo sucks, he's overrated, he can't shoot, LeVar sucks, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, okay, this combo's over. But if they were like, he does a lot of things well and he can improve on some things and he has a great IQ, vision, good passer, I'm like, okay, we can work with this. Like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Those young players where you have to project into the future a little bit, those tell you a lot about how people watch the game. And then two, like it's instant gratification. And like, that's all we want as people who have social media and cell phones and we can get stuff at our fingertips and we want everything now. We don't even give these kids a chance to breathe at all, where a guy like Luka who stepped in and was immediately absolutely fantastic. Trey just had a rough first half of the season. People were already calling him a bust after like 25 games. And I'm like, just because Luka adjusted quicker than Trey doesn't mean Trey's not going to be great. Like you have to, it's hard. And then you have sophomore slumps and then you call people busts after that. Like Brandon Ingram gave up on when he went over to New Orleans.
People gave up on Brandon Ingram, like, oh, he'll never be good. And then he gets an opportunity, right? Because we all knew it's in there. He's just, but with LeBron, it's always going to be hard with LeBron because LeBron's going to be ball dominant. He's going to want the ball. Yeah. It's going to be hard to flourish. He goes to New Orleans. I'm like, oh, he's going to eat, and he's an all-star.
50, 40, 90 candidate. Like, that dude's going to be insane. And him and Zion and Zoe, that's a crazy young core. And then they have Jackson Hayes too, right?
Yeah, Jackson.
And Josh Hart.
He's looked better too. Josh Hart's good. They took the kid from Alabama. I keep forgetting his name, but he was my favorite guys last year.
Lewis.
Kyra Lewis. Yeah, Kyra Lewis.
Yeah.
He was someone that I really liked a lot. So they have pieces. They're still a very young team, but we just too many guys give up on these young guys. I mean,
Colin Sexton.
People gave up on Colin Sexton, like, oh, he can't do this, and then they're trying to force him to just be a point guard, and then Cleveland finally figured out, hey, we're just gonna just be a scorer, man. Let Garland handle the point more, just play a little off ball, and look, he's flourishing. If once the Cavaliers figure it out, he's going to be an all-star. He was almost an all-star this year. So it's just like understanding situations too, right? You look at RJ's situation last year. Let's just put everything in perspective last year. Coming into this season, right? Knicks were expected to get the number one pick, get this guy, Kevin Durant, all this, right? Expectations through the roof, right? So he comes in and he's not Zion, right? So everyone's like, well, he's not Zion. So you're deflated there. All right. Then they signed a bunch of power forwards, Randall, all these guys, and, there's no spacing. So he can't do what he can do. You can't attack the basket because it's just clogged up because we got a bunch of non-shooters on the court. So it's just like but I'm like, no, if you watch it, you could see there's something there. Mm-hmm. There's something there. It's just, you have to understand, you just can't look at the record and his shooting percentage and be like, oh no, he's a bum.
It's context.
Like you got to understand that he can do stuff. He's not allowed to because the team structure is not there. And that's what a lot of these guys, like, Zach LaVine, people were probably doing the same thing with Zach LaVine. And look at him now. He's an all-star, averaging 28 a game, and now, possibly being the franchise player for Chicago. I mean, they traded for Vooch, and now they assume they're trying to be a playoff and team for the foreseeable future. So just too many. We give up on two guys too quick,
and
too quick.
They don't use context. Like even in football, like Tom Brady in the postseason this past season, like that is a context thing, and he threw 3 picks in the NFC Championship game. What if the Bucks lose that game? Then the narrative is Tom Brady's washed. He sucks. He played horrible, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes to the Super Bowl, does enough to win, and it's completely shifted. Like, people just – they have these narratives made up in their head and, like, set when they go into games where stuff that happens, they will roll with that narrative or what they want it to be. Like, just have look at the bigger picture, like a bird's eye view of the bigger picture, and you can't think – right now. Like, you have to think into the future a little bit. Like a guy like RJ, what he was last year was obviously not what he was going to be his whole career. And what he is right now, he's going to be better than that a year from now. Like, that dude is he's already making leaps and bounds. So just, especially with young players, let them grow, let them breathe a little bit, let them get a team around them, let them find a role. And sure, there's going to be like the occasional bust, quote unquote. And I hate that word. Like, I think if you make it to the NBA or NFL and you achieve your dream, you're not a bust. Like, someone brought up Mitchell Trubisky, is he a bust? I'm like, no, he made it.
Maybe underwhelming. You could say, okay,
yes,
maybe an underwhelming
he disappointed
career,
a little bit, but he's not a bust.
No, he's
he made it.
He could play.
He made it. Yeah,
he could play. He's just not. You know, everyone expected him to. And also hurts that who was drafted after him, right? That also,
for sure.
It's another thing too, because you look at like Marvin Bagley, right? I'm a Duke fan. I'm big time. I'm still on it. I know he's hurt, but he's another one who's super young, right?
He needs to change the scenery.
He needs to change. Some guys just need to also change the scenery too. I look at him, and everyone is always going to bring up Luka was the next pick. So he's always going to, even if he averages 19 and 10 next year, and he's playing great, you know, he's healthy. You know, that's another thing. He hasn't been healthy. You know, so that's another factor. But you know, it's always going to be who's drafted after you. So, and then that in his case, it's like Luka. And then for Mitchell's case, it's, you know, Deshaun Watson, and it was, you know, Patrick Mahomes, who's arguably, you know, the face of the league. So that's always going to bring up. But the busting, like you mentioned, it gets thrown around way too much. Like, I heard someone say Andrew Wiggins is a bust. I was like, he averaged 24 in a season one year. I know he may look like he's very, you know, lackadaisical, but the dude is like a career 20-point. That's not a bust.
Yeah,
you know, exactly. That's not a bust. You know, he's going to be in the league for a while. You know, he's not a bust. So like that word, it gets thrown around way too much. Like, just because Mitchell Trubisky didn't work out in Chicago doesn't mean he's a bust. Just underwhelming. Okay, I'm cool with that. You could say that, but a bust. Come on now.
Well, and I think it's also a respect thing. Like, on Twitter, like, not to go too far off the path here, but like people, we try not to do that, but Twitter in general, like a lot of the populations on Twitter, it's just like cool, I guess, to throw out stuff like the hot takes and the disrespect and the slander and all that. Like, these guys, the quote unquote worst player in the NBA would pull up to any open gym or any park and absolutely dog anybody there at that point. Like, or any NFL player would completely run over.
Brady just played a bunch of dudes and everyone's like, oh, I could probably beat Brian Scalabrine. And he bust them. He's like, hey, I may have been the 12th guy on the bench, but guess what? I'm the best one here, and I'm gonna show it to you. Like, it's like, don't too much disrespect. Oh, I could beat this dude, and like, no, especially women's basketball too. Like, the disrespect they get, it's like, no, them ladies can hoop. Some of them will destroy you. So,
they are technical. Like, they are smart because they don't have that athleticism where they're just going to dunk over people or speed past them. Like, that is like almost more pure basketball than the NBA sometimes. Like, it's poetry in motion. And dude, it's not like these athletes don't come into the grocery store, and if I was bagging groceries, say, oh, you suck, you can't do it, blah blah blah. Like,
you suck. Like you're good. I'm slicing. You're
like right they don't throw stuff at us or like talk trash on us or tweet at us and say we suck. Like, it's I guess that's one of those things that I'm kind of glad was out of me once I went from fan to analyst sometimes. Like, once we saw that side of it, we're like, man, they're people too. And like, sure, it's fun back then to roast or make a meme out of somebody who goofed up or like messed up in a big game or disappointed or whatever, but they're just trying to do their job, and they don't make fun of us at our jobs, you know. And it's not about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because how I look at sports since I've started doing podcasting and kind
Mhm.
of become a media, in the media kind of,
Yes. Yeah.
it's changed the way I look at sports, right? And just
Mhm.
how I react, right? Because when you're a you're a fanatic, right? Fan is short for fanatic, right?
It's fan
And,
goggles. It
and
is.
you just like, oh, like that's so stupid. Like, and I would be so irate that, oh, why do they do that? That's
Mhm.
ridiculous. And especially you play fantasy, like, why'd you drop that pass? Blah blah blah, just
Yeah.
stuff up
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then just ever since, like I said, doing the podcast and all that, and being in media, it's like, oh my god, that's so obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like why would you do that? Like I've turned to care and not have so much like anger or like towards the game.
Yes.
If the Knicks lose, the Knicks lose.
Yeah.
It's okay. It happens. They missed. Oh, Julian. Oh, he missed a shot. That's all right. It's
Mhm.
okay. The Giants
Yeah.
lose. It's okay. My teams lose. It's okay. And I've learned to just kind of just understand why it happened instead of just reacting because
Yes.
this guy sucked. He shouldn't be on a team. Like, and you see, I'll give you an instance for Elfrid Payton. Like, see a lot of people trash him, and it's like, okay, he may not be the perfect player, right? He has a lot of flaws, but attacking him, calling him trash
Yeah.
on your Twitter bio says, I hate Elfrid Payton. Come on now. It's just stuff like that where I was like, oh my God, like I hope I was never like that. And
Sure.
I don't wasn't, but just seeing it from a different perspective now, it's just like, oh my God, there's some people who are really crazy.
Yeah.
Like their bios, like I hate Elfrid. Like, dude,
Mhm.
he's better than you would ever be. Like he's
Yeah.
not, like you said, he's not a
Exactly.
perfect NBA player. He may not be a high level starting player on a playoff team. That's okay.
Mhm.
He can still bust your ass. So
Yeah.
put some respect. Like
Mhm.
he's 6-7 years in the league. He's made it this far in this league where he's a starting player.
Yeah.
There's too much disrespect, man. That's what I go for is the disrespect. I won't even disrespect Porzingis like that, and I have every
Exactly.
reason to. But like, people like I hate freaking game, I hate him and all. It's like, all right. He didn't feel it here. He left.
Mhm.
Okay, let's get over it. He's not on our team no more.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what it's like. Whatever Porzingis does, he's with Dallas now. It's like I don't have the hate. Like
Mhm.
I don't have that hate no more. Now that I'm doing this, I just can't find myself to hate a player because he don't want to play for my team. It just I see everything different now. Like the fan goggles
Yeah.
isn't there much. It's just thinking about these guys are humans too. Like no matter what,
Yes.
bro. So, but it's just crazy how people react to stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a blessing and a curse, like to see that. Like the blessing is knowing that you can look at stuff differently than you used to, or like other people used to, or whatever, like other people still do. And then the curse, I guess the blessing is also being able to put the fan goggles on for certain players or teams and then take them off at the drop of a hat. Like if I wasn't covering the Chiefs anymore, I could put that fan hat or the fan goggles back on that day and
Yeah.
like immediately take them off the next day. Like it's cool
Yeah.
to be able to have those two different mindsets.
100%.
And then the second thing is the curse is like seeing so many people that are still like that on social media. And like I love Twitter, I love Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But like I just don't get how people are wired to the rush of clout is not worth it
It's
in my opinion to do.
dude, it's
Like
crazy.
I'd rather tweet something positive and get one like than tweet something negative. And the sad thing is like the negative funny tweets, like I'll crack a joke every once in a while because everyone likes to crack like the
Exactly.
jokes are cool, but like the mean spirited tweets I see get like exponentially more clout than the actual productive like thought. Let's have a basketball conversation, like one reply, one like whatever. Let's trash this player. This player, let start bench cut, or this player's better than this player, or this player equals trash. Like it's just like the craze. I just don't get it personally. I don't understand.
Dude, and I just don't get it. You can have legit basketball conversations, and like you said,
Yes.
you won't get the interactions. You get a couple likes or no likes, or you just know it. And then someone says, DeMar DeRozan's better than Michael Jordan. Don't at me.
Yes.
32,000 likes,
Yep.
a bunch of retweets. It's going to get a crazy million interactions. But that's what that person wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they have this, because people like this. There's a world, like we've mentioned before, there's a world where there's the basketball enthusiasts who love basketball, can talk ins and outs about basketball.
Yeah.
And then there's another world in basketball Twitter, where people have the spicy Porzingis. I don't know why I always bring up spicy Porzingis, because that sticks in my mind. But it's a picture of Porzingis in the mask, and he just spewing out nonsense. And it's like, how does this person have 32,000 followers that all they spew is not legit basketball? It's literally just hot take after hot take after hot take. But like we've seen in mainstream media, right? We see this in how ESPN is with First Take. It used to be a legit show that I used to enjoy. Now it's just like, let's just take garbage takes. Same thing with Undisputed. And that's what Twitter is. I see some of these people, I'm like, they got 100,000 likes because they said, don't at me, this guy's better than this guy. It's like, well, what, like, or we have to bring down a player to bring up a player. Like when the Chris Bosh, Julius Randle, I'm like, do you ever realize Chris Bosh was a dog? Like he was nice. Like Randall's having it. Listen, I'm happy Randall's being good, but why are we bringing this up? And then we're going to diminish, and then all it does is diminish what Randall did, because people are like, oh no, going crazy over Chris Bosh. Well, he wasn't that good, or he was that good. And it's like, no, we don't have to bring down a player to bring up a player. Randall's having a great season. That's it.
And I don't get the start bench cut irritates me, and I used to do those all the time.
I used to do it too. I can't lie. But then I realized it's annoying.
Yes, because they're all good in those things. They're almost always almost impossible to do. Like they're all really good players, so that makes it tough. And then, like I hate ranking. I used to love ranking players too and making lists and stuff like that. And like, I can do tiers now. Like that's as far as I'll go. Like I try not to rank. I just tweeted something out there. Do you guys like tiers, or because like the rankings can get a little it gets crazy, but it feels like tiers is more. At least all right. This is who is in my tier 5, and it's a better understanding, because when you do rank, why do you have that guy 9? Yes,
and then he should be 8th. It's like, all right, well, it's not even. It's really close, but I had to put someone at 8 and someone at 9.
Yes.
So, and then people get crazy about that. Like I remember doing the draft stuff last year and having, I had Killian Hayes high, and people were like, oh, you can't have him that high.
I did too.
Yeah, it's like, no, I like him. I think he should be here. And it's like, okay, you can argue about it. It's like, cool. And then people just get attacked. With rankings, people get attacked.
It hardly ever, like, it's nice when people agree with your rankings, but people hardly ever do. Like if you post a list of 10, you'll get like one person for every like 50 that's like, oh, this is mine too. Everybody else, and no one says, like, the way people reply to stuff like that, it's never good. It's like, why did you think of this?
You're a moron. Why would you?
What was going through your mind? Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you thinking? What's wrong with you? Like, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man. It's social, but I try to use social media in the way it's intended to be. Like posting stuff, posting my content, shouting out people, connecting, networking, because I just can't do hot takes all the time. It just, I don't want my phone blowing up like that. Because like I remember I had one tweet, and it wasn't even like a hot take. It was just posting a clip of something I agreed with. I thought it was about Gilbert Arenas talking about college kids going to the pros. How sometimes they excel better in the pros than in college.
That's a good clip. That's a good clip.
And that blew up. Like NBA players, and I'm like, wow. Like, I'm mad, but just imagine you just, oh, this guy's better than that, and this year. Like, no, I don't want that, because it's nonsense. But I'm just happy we use it in the right way. Social media, like, it's be able to connect, network. Like the way I've used it has gotten me this far, right? Talking to you, got to talk to Rashad. I got to talk to Ronnie Brewer and some former NBA players, college stars, top journalists. That's how it should be used, to connect and show love to other people, retweet their stuff, tweet whatever, But there's Twitter can be. There's sometimes I'm just like, I am not even looking at Twitter. I'm just not.
I log out. Yeah, I have a log out point every day where, like, if I see a certain amount of I'm just like, I'm out, and I'll tweet sometimes. I'm like, okay, reached my limit for the day. Talk to you guys later. Like, I can't, and I won't. Like, I try not to spend more than like an hour total on Twitter every day, and like I almost always go over because I just can't stay away from it. Yeah, I can't stay away from it. But man, like, I'll see some stuff. And like, I started a thread. I'll probably delete the thread soon because like I don't want to throw shade at people. But like, I started this, or I took this idea from one of my buddies and ran with it. Where like, if I see a bad tweet, I won't quote tweet it. I'll screenshot it and then put it in the thread. So like they don't get that clout from it.
I
But
should
we
do that
still
more
point
because
out.
sometimes
We
I'll
still,
retweet
yeah,
it and quote and like, what are you thinking? And
yeah,
it's like, you know what? You're giving them what they want.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. So I try not to interact with stuff like that anymore. It's just it's bad for everybody involved. I think to kind of do that and arguing back and forth hardly ever is worth it. So
No, arguing on Twitter
it
is
just
so
is what it
silly.
is. Yeah,
It's so silly. Like I see a lot of arguments, and it's just like, why are you arguing? It's Twitter.
yeah.
You know, you don't have to
Like
look
get
at it,
over it.
right? Get over
Yeah.
it. It's Twitter. Like you legit back and forth cursing. I'm like, it's social media.
And in real life, no one would, or 99% of the people would never say any of that stuff, ever.
Exactly, and that's another thing. It just allows people to say things that they would never say to an athlete or to just another. If no, they would never say this to a person in real life. You know, so like it's just it could get crazy and all that. But enough with all that, right? Enough with all that nonsense of Twitter and all that. But before we let you go, Jordan, this has been a tremendous conversation, man. I really enjoy it. And like I said, make sure to use the code off the ball of Manscaped, get 20% off. You know, for I always mess up this thing. Perfect for your family jewels. Make sure to use promo code off the ball. Get it off the ball now with Manscaped. Shout out to Manscaped and all the guys over there. What's next, man? You do so many great stuff. What's next for you? I mean, just you've done, like I said, so much cool stuff. You're doing stuff for Rashad, doing stuff for Sports Illustrated. I mean, that's elite, bro. You're elite. You're elite. I'm gonna say you're elite. Because that's elite content you're providing there. So what's next for Jordan?
Man, I've gotten lucky and really blessed to meet some cool people and do some cool stuff. And that's what it's all about, man. Just networking and getting to know people and trying to get a little bit better every day. I'm just a really, really firm believer in that because no one can ever be perfect. But you can try to be really, really good. And I think that pursuing that is what keeps everybody going, I think. In terms of what's next, man, I got an NBA draft series in the works that I'm going to jump into. So I'm going with a buddy. I'm not going to share too much because I don't know if he wants to split it up and announce it yet. But I'm basically jumping from one draft series to the next. It's going to be a video breakdown thing, so I'm pretty excited for that.
I'll be tuned in. I love the draft. I'm doing my own draft. I can't wait for the NBA draft stuff, so I'll definitely be tuned in for that.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to get in with Slam. Man, that's my next goal, and I'm just gonna say it because I've been trying to chip away at Slam for like a really long time, and I feel like I'm on the brink, man. But I really just want to get in, so I'm gonna keep you posted on that. But a lot of NBA basketball stuff coming up.
That's awesome, bro. And listen, you've got Sports Illustrated, you got Rashad, Sports Talk 2319, Slam. Hey, Slam, get at my guy Jordan, man. Make it happen. But you've done, like I said, I'm gonna give you all the flowers because you've done some really cool stuff, and I was very happy to be able to come on the show, Jordan, because this has been a blast to talk to you for those last hour and 15. Chopping up about the NFL draft and NBA. One more thing, who wins the MVP? NBA MVP.
I think I'm gonna go Jokic. I think so, man. If they can just finish, I don't know what seed they are right now, but like they've been playing better.
4 seed right now. 4 seed.
Okay, if they can finish 4 or even 3, I think with Jokic doing what he's doing, man, as a center, that's insane. Like that dude needs an MVP on his mantle.
Because he's been in the MVP conversation, but it was like, well, I can't give it to an 8 seed. I can't. I just can't do it. But you're sitting at 4 right now, and you're just they were 9-1 the last 10 games before last night, a couple nights ago when they lost. But if he continues, and listen, Embiid might miss more games, that might be Jokic just doing. So we'll see. NBA season is going to be a tremendous end. I can't wait. Playoffs are going to be tremendous. NFL draft coming up. Excited about that. Hopefully my Giants don't mess it up, man. I don't know. What do you think the Giants are going to do quick? What should they do? I don't know what they're gonna do, man. I really don't.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me because, man, I'm not a huge Daniel Jones guy. I don't know about Danny Dimes. Oh, you're not? Okay, man. Thank
I
God.
didn't want. Listen, my plan. I'm gonna shoot my plan. My plan goes before that. I wanted Josh Allen.
Okay.
I wanted Josh Allen too. I said, this is an opportunity to get your quarterback. You may not get this opportunity to draft that too. Why are you taking a running back at 2? I don't care if he's the best running back since everyone combined.
Yeah.
He's not. It's just not going to be worth it.
It's not the same.
And it's not the same. The value isn't the same because in 5 years, he may be all pro, L pro, everything. But that means there's going to be a few more years left. While the quarterback, Josh Allen, is going to be. And look, we've seen it. I mean, it goes back to that. I haven't been happy since. I'm not a Gettleman, guys. I've been pissed off since that. They didn't listen to we could have got the running back Chubb in second. Jordan, I ain't going to get it. That's a whole nother show. I could talk about that with the Giants. But I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. I just don't see it. I
like Galladay. That was a big signing for them. Like getting him a big target that can just go up and get balls, man.
Yeah.
Danny's shown some flashes. And, like, I can't write him off because of that. Like, he's had a couple games where he kind of puts the team on his back and gets it done. But something about he fumbles the ball a lot. He's just reckless. Between the ears, I just don't know if he has that like high level processing. You know what I mean? Like I just don't know.
Other than his athletic ability, I don't see traits that make me say, okay, that can be elite. Like we talk about Patrick Mahomes, right? He may struggle with just making careless mistakes and all that, but you could see, all right, he has an elite arm and he could just make plays out of nothing. Like he has that ability.
Or like even Sam Darnold.
Even Sam, I was a big Sam guy too. I was fine with either or, and I think Sam with I think he's gonna do fine in Carolina because he's finally, and you could tell him, you could see in his, he's like, wow, like I finally have weapons. I have a running back that they actually like.
I have a coach.
I have a coach who like knows offense, like is not just like this quarterback guru that really wasn't like because Peyton Manning said he was. So it's like I was a big Sam guy too. I would have been fine with either one of those quarterbacks, but I didn't get. I'll never get that, and to me it's cost them years. It's set back the franchise years because now Saquon's coming off an ACL, right? When he tore his ACL, I was like, see,
it's over.
They're not going to want to pay him.
Yeah.
Okay. We always see that. Oh, and they pay him, and what every time a team pays a running back, what happens? They immediately regret it. They're like, oh, we want to trade him or try to figure out something. So to me, I wish the Giants they would have started off 1-7 this year. Then of course they had to win games and make it think we had a chance, and then they faltered late. So I wish we would have been in that top 4 or 5 so we can maybe get one of these quarterbacks. But
well, man, and this year, like I think they're going to be competitive, but like, are they going to be 7 or 8 wins and then get a 15th or 16th draft
and
pick?
be in the same position again?
Yeah, like, do you want that? Like, do you want a wild card game? It's a tough spot to be in, man.
Yeah, because listen, 7-9 won the division. It's like I think that doesn't mean like I don't think the Washington football team are suddenly going to be perennial playoff teams because they won the division. It's like no, they were still 7-9.
Until they get a quarterback.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. Now you got to compete with Washington, who's going to want a quarterback too.
Yeah,
the Eagles might want a quarterback next year. We don't know what their situation is if Hurts is the guy. So this obviously Dallas just re-signed a Dak, but there was a point where they weren't sure. So it's like you got 3 teams in your division. This team's in the division that's going to need quarterbacks too, and next year if they might. So I don't know the Giants. I'm not sold. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. I'm not completely sold on DG, and to me that's how it goes, right? If DG goes, that's how the team goes. But we'll see. Hopefully Saquon comes back, and like I said, Galladay addition has been good, and hopefully Slayton comes back, and Ingram stops dropping crucial first down passes.
And I like him too, but man, it was just boneheaded plays where you're like, man, you have all the talent in the world, just focus in,
Focus, Ingram. Like there's so many plays we just got to focus on all that. But we'll see what the Giants do. Jordan, brother, this was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate your time. This was fun chopping it up with you. Before we sign off, tell the people where they can find you on social media, any projects you got going on.
Yeah, man, I'm doing this 100 and 100 Chiefs draft series right now. I think we're 84 days in. I think I scheduled a tweet. Like it might already be out while we were on the podcast with today's prospect. So I'm almost done with that leading up to the NFL draft. And then just trying to do NBA stuff. So follow me Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Footnoted. And man, Chris, thanks a lot for having me on. This was awesome, man.
Oh man, Jordan, I appreciate your time coming on the show, man. This was a lot of fun. When we get to the NBA draft stuff, man, we're definitely gonna do more because I'm all in on the NBA draft. That's my favorite time of the year, NBA draft season. I'm already trying to figure out who's the next guys coming up, trying to find my next Sam Merrill, my diamond in the rough, and see. But Jordan, like I said, continue success with everything you're doing. So many great things. The stuff you're doing with Rashad and Sports Illustrated, and hopefully we get you on Slam. Let's try and make that happen. But man, you're doing a lot of great work. Nothing but continued success for you. And like I said, thanks for coming on the podcast, brother.
Likewise, bro. Thanks so much, man.
Yes. So I'm Chris LeBron. You can find me Off the Ball Pod on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Podcast will be coming out Wednesday. If you missed the live show now, appreciate everyone for tuning into the live show. Like I said, podcast, if you missed it, podcast will be coming out Wednesday. And on that note, I'm Chris LeBron Off the Ball. That's Jordan Foote. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Blessings. Be nice to each other. And no hot takes on Twitter. Peace out, guys.